My name is Luciano Lombardo of the Pangallo Independence Party, and I was born in Australia of Italian background and have 23 years experience advising ministers on climate change, energy, science and innovation. Phil Thompson and I are running with Frank Pangallo, the ex-mayor of Queanbeyan, to support his bid for the Assembly. Frank has 31 years in local government, the last 17 as mayor. The Pangallo Independents see climate change as the biggest threat to our way of life. World scientists have warned of dangerous climate change when carbon emissions reach 450 parts per million. We are currently at 390. I don't know what they mean by dangerous climate change. I don't think we've ever been there, but I don't think I want to find out. Australian scientists are very concerned and only last week sent Prime Minister Rudd a letter urging him to cut greenhouse gases by 25% by 2020. This figure was backed by Ross Garnaut's final report earlier this week. The data on emissions in the ACT up to 2007, compiled by the ACT Commissioner for the Environment, show that under the current government, emissions in the ACT continue to grow at an alarming rate, with no sign of being checked. The Pangallo Independents are really concerned, and we're looking to implement a sensible climate change policy. Our policies aim to reduce greenhouse gases and avoid the worst impacts of climate change. We know that the serious technology solutions for providing clean baseload power are still in the future. So at this stage of the global response, we see a priority for improving energy efficiency to reduce emissions. Canberrans are one of the highest per capita carbon emitters in Australia. 72% of emissions come from stationary electric power and about 20% from transport. The Pangallo Independents will ensure all Canberra homes are equipped to reduce carbon emissions by reducing electric power consumption. We will provide for the installation of both insulation and double glazing to low-income households and encourage those that can afford to pay to make that investment now. We will provide assistance to match the Commonwealth Government subsidy and interest-free loans where it may cause undue hardship. We want to reduce emissions from transport, and we see advantages in moving our public transport system onto the grid so that as power sources are cleaned up, our emissions will also reduce. This can be done with either light rail or electric buses. We recognise that government has an important role in supporting technology development as a purchaser of new technology. At this stage, we are supporting the purchase of electric passenger buses. We also want to reduce greenhouse gases by targeting carpooling to reduce commuting cars on the road. We need cars carrying two drivers, not driver and passenger, so that one car remains at home. When we build our cities, we need to insist on energy efficient design and to adapting to living with less water and higher temperatures. Our urban development policies will emphasise energy efficient design with a focus on insulation, double glazing and siting on the block. Australia is one of the richest countries when you talk about biodiversity, and therefore has the most to lose in a climate constrained world. Our climate change policies protect green areas, as these will become very important in dealing with higher temperatures and for protecting our biodiversity. That is why in the new Molonglo development we are supporting changes being advocated by the Conservation Council for the establishment of a Kama reserve and for preservation of the green corridor along the river, and we certainly do not want a dam. We also have policies to reduce Canberra's water consumption by 18% and to improve waste management. Well, climate change is a long story, and I hope it will continue and we make inroads into this, what is one of our most important challenges this century. Now let me just say something about our education policy. We are disappointed that so many schools were closed in Canberra, only to now discover we should reduce class sizes. Our education policy will bring the ACT education system into the 21st century. Did you know that longitudinal studies in the USA have convinced educators there to recommend a class size of no more than 15 in the early years? The studies show that those enrolled in small classes as youngsters maintained an advantage as they continued through the system in the regular class sizes. Did you also know that New Zealand earlier this year committed $212 million to reduce class sizes for new entrants to 15 students? Based on this compelling evidence, the Pangalo Independents, in announcing their education policy at the pre-election event on the 23rd of September, went further than the other parties by committing to reduce class sizes to 15 students for the early years up to year 3. We want our children to have the best start in life. It just doesn't make sense why Labor wants to put priority on reducing class sizes in high schools.